I'm Mark Baer. You're watching YourTown television. I'm with Dave Engelberg, Big Sur Tours and More, and welcome.
Thank you, Mark.
So the business card says inherently unique. So what does that mean?
That means it was all my idea. I thought it up myself. I didn't really ask many people for advice. It was basically an adventure to see if it would work out, if it was viable. I knew I had the passion and the experience from driving it basically all my adult life, it being Highway 1, of course. Worked very hard for 2 years, and I've kind of settled into a nice groove where I can live here as long as I want.
Okay, so before we get into what you do and all of this, tell me the story about coming here years ago and driving up that coast and what that meant to you and how you first laid eyes on Big Sur, and then how you fell in love, and then we can talk about what you do now.
It all started June of 1969. After my junior year of college, I drove down the coast, and it took 11 hours. I discovered it by myself, just looking to the right and left and meeting people and just basically oohing and ahhing it. And I enjoyed it so much that every quarter break I went from LA to Hayward and then Hayward to LA. And I did that for 3 years. And then once I became a tennis pro in Los Angeles, I would always take my vacations up in this area. And it just became part of me. Now, I could go down to San Diego, which was 3 times closer, but the ride back, I wouldn't feel relaxed. I'd come here, I could drive down in 6 or 7 hours, and I was ready to start the week again.
So you couldn't really do this if you weren't in love. So what you do is share your love, basically.
You got it.
So now that you're, now how many years have you been doing Inherently Unique?
Well, I just put it on the business card 2 months ago, but
I like that.
It's been I've been doing this job for 13 years.
Yeah.
And loving it.
Yeah. And learning. And you're learning more about Big Sur all the time. So what do people not know, first of all?
There's a lot they don't know. They don't know what it is. The last 2 years have been chaos in Big Sur with the fire and the landslides and the bridge that was down.
Yeah.
And of course, everyone asks, is the Bixby Bridge repaired? It was never the Bixby Bridge. It was a different bridge that's been up since October 13th of last year. And you can drive for an hour and a half down to Big Sur and then come back. Mud Creek is 65 miles past Rio Road. That's where it's blocked. Mm-hmm. And of course, no one drives for an hour and a half without stopping.
Right. Mm-hmm. If I'm first of all, I'm just going to imagine that I'm going to find you out. So I'm a potential client. How do I find you? And then what's my day going to be like?
Okay. My website, TripAdvisors, if you're staying at the hotels and you ask the concierge, they know about me, because basically I'm the only one who does this. And you would contact me. I like to know about people both on the trip and before the trip, so over the phone and by email. I've done, I figure, about 1,700 tours, and no two have ever been the same. Mm-hmm. It's personalized. It's not about me, it's about you. Pickup time is your decision. And it's a good change from LA, which is a very ego-driven city. I like to feel I rip off Tony Bennett and found my heart in Monterey.
So these are basically private tours, or what's the group size usually we're dealing with? Just a couple or 2 people or 3 or what?
1, 2, or 3 works perfect.
Okay.
I can do 4 in my car as long as it's not the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
Because that means 3 to the back seat. However, I can drive their vehicle or rent a vehicle if the number is over that. And if there's 8 or more, I work very well with Main Event, and I can be the walk-on guide with them driving.
Uh-huh. And you have a good relationship with them.
The best.
That's super. So What kind of variations, what kind of variations of the tour will you do, and where will you take people, and what are your favorite things to see down there?
Good question. A good question is one I have the answer to, of course.
Yes, of course.
Someone asks a question on the tour and I don't know the answer, I tell them it's a bad question.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I generally say that Big Sur alone is about 2 hours in the car, 2 hours out of the car. I often will zigzag the streets of Carmel and then take them around the scenic drive of Carmel, around Clint Eastwood's Mission Ranch, and then on Highway 1 past Point Lobos into Big Sur. Some people like to do it slow, take a lot of pictures. Fine with me. It's their tour at their pace. The other extreme would be the road trip. No, keep going, keep going, keep going. And I do price it by the hour. There's a 4-hour minimum when they reach me in advance and want to do Big Sur, and then it's X amount of dollars per hour after that. And I would say about 40% of my tours end up going an extra hour or half hour beyond that.
Okay. And just so our audience understands, we're talking, when we talk about Big Sur, we're talking really the Big Sur coast, which includes all the way here to Monterey. Is that my understanding of it?
Well, a lot of people...
Because I assume your clientele are starting from here by and large.
But not exclusively.
Not exclusively, okay.
If I can make it work, I make it work. I have a rate where I have to drive for so many miles solo. It's not as much as when we're together. Mm-hmm. But one thing people don't know, and I don't expect them to, I've done the research, this is my baby. Big Sur on the coast is 75 miles long. It's 90 miles to Hearst Castle. There's 5 miles at the start, which is Carmel and Carmel Highlands. And then when you get about a mile past Ragged Point, it's roughly 10 miles to the castle, which is known less formally as Hearst Castle Country. And Ragged Point is a great place in southern Big Sur. There are elephant seals on the way to the castle, and then there's the towns of Cambria, Harmony, Cayucas, Morro Bay, and then San Luis Obispo, where I often pick people up from Amtrak so they can see the coast and meet up again with Amtrak in Salinas.
So do you do Hearst Castle tours would then be part of this?
I just drop them off and rest. I take my driving seriously.
Yeah.
And I am an expert on the Hearst Castle movie. There's a 42-minute movie that plays every 45 minutes, and that's terrific.
Yeah, it's fabulous. Now, and then in Big Sur proper itself, what do you like to do? I know you will go to the Henry Miller. I know that you'll probably take them up to Nepenthe.
It depends on what they want, what they ask for. I normally don't do Pfeiffer Beach unless they ask for it, or I really sense that that's what, because it's beautiful, but it's a little bit of a pain for the drive. And right now they're thinking of putting a parking lot on Highway 1 and doing like a tram to get there. I mean, it was never meant to be what it is. It's a road that has, I think there's about 85 parking spots, and people live there. And they really don't like the tourists. In fact, they used to have a sign that said Pfeiffer Beach, which the locals took down, and after a tug of war, they put up a sign that said Narrow Road.
Yeah.
So Big Sur is known for a lack of signs, by the way.
Yeah, and you can't really see what's going. Well, that's what's so interesting, and why, especially Big Sur town down there, you have to have knowledge to see it, because you can't really see it from the...
And it's a pleasure to answer the questions, provide them with the knowledge, be able to take their picture, of course, do the driving. And probably the best way I can tell you where I take them, there's a guide to Big Sur, which I meant to bring, of course I forgot. But I'll circle the places in order from north to south. Point Lobos for hiking, Bixby Bridge, which is like an amusement park these days. Can I see the Bixby Bridge? You can't avoid the Bixby Bridge. It's right on the road.
Yeah.
Below that, look south, is Hurricane Point, which is a great view. And then there's the Big Sur River Inn, which is fabulous. Pfeiffer State Park, Nepenthe, Hawthorne Gallery, which is one of my two favorite places. Henry Miller Memorial Library, closed Tuesday, so you don't get disappointed, but it's a really far out place. That and the Phoenix Shop below Nepenthe are just so incredibly big, sir.
Yes.
And continuing south, of course, McWay Waterfall. Then there's Esalen, Lucia Lodge, which has world-class fish and chips, and I say that from experience and people I've taken there. And then Treebones Resort, which is my other favorite place. You can see I'm wearing their colors. It's a great glamping place. Great people, and they're as well known almost for their sushi as their yurts.
Uh-huh. Nice.
But they've been in business about 6 months longer than I have, and I feel we've embraced each other and have grown together.
Yeah, and boy, they've really been through the ringer, the community, with this, with the weather, and you've been talking about how the weather climates have been changing in the last few years, and what have you noticed?
The ones hit hardest have been Esalen, Post Ranch Inn, Ventana, and Treebones.
Uh-huh.
I actually worked in March of last year for Treebones. They were shut down for 3 weeks because of Mud Creek, and this is before the big slide, but they got permission from Ragged Point to use some of their parking spots, and for 2 months I chauffeured people in a big 14-passenger vehicle from Ragged Point to Treebones and back. The job was supposed to last about 5 weeks, and after 2 weeks they realized how much water was there, and they shut it down. And the people who go there either have to come, well, the bridge was closed too at the time, so they had to take Nacimiento-Ferguson Road, a road that takes basically 2 hours to get from 101 to 1, and it's really not recommended unless you have to. But the people who, Treebones suffered probably less than expected. They had a lunch business that really suffered,
Mm-hmm.
but the type of people that were willing to take Nacimiento Ferguson were the kind of people that they catered to before. And they have people now, they only have 3 restrooms, 16 yurts, and a few tree houses and other amenities. But you have to be kind of rugged and want to do the outdoor there. Mm-hmm. So I know that Corrine Handy really liked the people that hung in there and did it much more than the, no restroom in my yurt?
Yeah, of course. And the other thing that I like looking at is the houses down there. But you have to kind of know your way up through there to see some, because there's some beautiful houses in Big Sur. They're not easy to find.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And probably the most famous one, don't know the name of it, but it's an A-frame house, and they found a condor's nest there about 7 years ago.
Wow.
And if you know where that is and can pull over on the road, don't go on their property. It says private property, but you've got a really cool view.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, we need to know a little bit about you, and I know that you were a professional tennis player for and a teacher for many years, and from Los Angeles, and you've managed to escape like all
Yes.
ex-Angelinos. Let's talk about your life in L.A. there a bit.
I didn't appreciate it as much when I was in it. I taught a lot of celebrities, taught at great places. Of course, the better the place, the more it was demanding.
And let's talk about because we have a lot of Angelinos, so where were you exactly?
Well, I was fortunate to do 27 of my 32 years at either Hillcrest Country Club, Brentwood Country Club, or the Beverly Hills Tennis Club. And yeah, basically I loved teaching tennis. I would have kept at it if my body didn't have some serious talks with me.
Yeah.
But one of the things I really appreciate now, and those who appreciate on the tour, is that I taught a lot of celebrities. My favorite and the best well-known was Harrison Ford.
Uh-huh.
For 7 years, between 88 and 95, he took a lesson every day he was in town. And it was a pleasure to be with him. Nothing phony about him, just the way he appears. Doesn't say much, but he's very cerebral and a hard worker on the court and demanding in a very good way.
Yeah. Tennis is an interesting world. So And as a younger man, you played as a pro?
I played, no, I was more of a teaching pro. I mean, I made a little bit of money, but you know, that was like not even 1% of what I made teaching. But I played high school, junior college, and college, non-scholarship. I knew where I fit in. If I went to Berkeley, I would have been 11 or 12, but I went to Hayward and played 3 and 4. Mm-hmm. You know, is that type of a thing. Yeah, for the love of the game.
So, so again, let's give people the website and everything again. Tell me the website one more time so they can find you.
Okay, it's BigSurToursAndMore.com. And phone number too?
No.
I didn't think so. And the website is www.BigSurToursAndMore.com.
Okay, we can't say those things.
I understand.
We can't say those things enough.
I'm not shy.
Because we do need to find you. But and then just some of your, what don't people know that that is so you know, this amazing landscape. And again, what's amazing, I've lived here, I don't know, almost 15 years now, mm-hmm. and I'm never ever blasé about driving up and down this coast.
Right.
And I'm assuming with you, the more you get to know it, the more you get to understand it, and the more you get to meet the people of it, the more you know the flora and the fauna, mm-hmm. It only gets better. And how jealous are the people that you drive that don't get to live here?
Well, what I've discovered from here, many things. One are how different people are. Everyone's got their different tastes, what they want to do, and this and that. People ask, why did I move here from LA? And I go, common sense, you know. You go from there.
Yeah, because you could.
But in 2004, when I moved here, close to when you moved here, I took 24 trips back and forth thinking, what do I want to do the rest of my life? And on one of those trips, the snowflake theory came to mind. We're all different. We're all individuals. I say, okay, what is my passion? And I said, well, I'm getting pretty good at driving Highway 1. I'm getting very good at these 3-day vacations. Things come in 3. The third thing was, is it marketable? And I went off on an adventure to discover what I have. And I feel very good because of what I've done for the community. I'm basically the concierge, or the link between Big Sur and the Monterey Peninsula. I go to all the hotels and give them Big Sur guides and educate them about where Mud Creek is, what they can do, what they can't do, show them pictures. And no one did this before I was here, so I feel very good about that. It's a win-win-win situation.
Well, anyway, my pleasure. So thank you so much. You're watching YourTown Television. My guest, Dave Engelberg, Big Sur Tours and More. And find you and take the drive. It sounds great.
All right. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much.